Let's talk about the best time to move to New York City. If you're a millennial trying to time the best time for you to move into the city to save money and also make it in New York, then you're definitely going to want to watch this video until the end. Hello you guys, my name is Joy, and in this channel we help millennials build wealth so they can live life on their terms in New York. Consider subscribing if you're interested in finding money tips while living in New York City. Now let's talk about the video. In this video, I'm going to share with you the best time throughout the year for you to move and get the best deal on an apartment. And we're also going to be diving in on when is it going to be the best time in your life for you to move into New York City. So if you're wondering about either of the two, then definitely watch until the end. Now let's first start and talk about when's the best time throughout the year for you to move into the city. The summer months are definitely the best months for you to move into the city because, well, that's the most popular. I wouldn't say it's the best time, but that's when most people move here. Reason being is because a lot of college students are moving into the city. We have interns and also fresh grads that are starting their first job in New York. So typically the summer months are going to have a flood of applicants looking to find the best apartment in New York City, and you're going to find that a lot of the rent prices are going to be higher than they would throughout the year. Now, because a lot of people are moving during the summer months, it's going to be more competitive for you to get the apartment that you want because there's a lot of applications that are being sent out and you're competing with a lot of people that might be more desirable to the landlord during those summer months. There's also a downside to moving during the summer months because when your lease is up, you are going to be renewing during a summer start date, and those prices are going to be higher. So what you'll notice is that if you find an apartment and you try to offer them a 6-month lease or a short-term lease that falls during a colder season, most likely the landlord is going to turn that down because they don't want that apartment to be set up during the timeline of a cold season. So that's the downfall about moving during the summer months. The pro is that the weather is not cold and it's definitely like not freezing and you're not plowing through snow if you're moving during the summer months. But it's also really hot during the time, like New York during the summer months. It's pretty muggy, it gets really humid, and it can be pretty unbearable. So if you don't like the heat and you don't want to move during the heat, then I would consider doing another month. Now, the winter months is definitely the cheapest time for you to move. One, because a lot of people don't want to move during the holidays because they're probably visiting their parents and they don't want to pay for rent if they're not going to be there. But this is actually a great time for you to scoop in and get a lot of great deals when other people are not going to be moving into the city. So if you are looking to save money, I would consider moving during the colder months because you can find a pretty great deal on an apartment. And also when your year lease is up, you're gonna be in that winter lease time. What you can also do is offer a 24-month lease versus a 12-month lease, and this will definitely make your rent price lower per month because you're committing to staying there for a longer time. Now, outside of summer and winter are definitely those in-between seasons. You have spring and fall. Those are definitely more moderate climates during the year because, thinking about moving in New York City, you might be moving your sofa up 4 floors in the snow, and that's not really fun. And I would know that because I've definitely done that. But if you move during the springtime, then the weather's usually nicer. It might rain a lot, or you can move during the fall when it's kind of bipolar and it's like cold and then it's hot, so you kind of have to be careful which day you're actually moving. But I would say rent prices during April and fall are going to be less competitive than the summertime, but they might be a little higher is the only thing. Me personally, I moved to New York City in April of 2019, so I moved the perfect timing for those warm climates. But when I did move, it was raining basically every day for like a month. So I actually moved during the wetter months. And then when I moved into my second apartment, I moved in the fall toward the tail end of September. So I basically moved during the milder climates. I can't speak to moving during the summer or the winter months, but that's definitely my experience from people, is that's how it is. If it were up to me, I personally am not price sensitive right now, so I would move during the in-between seasons, but that's definitely something to consider. Now let's talk about when's gonna be the best time for you to move in your life. For me, I wanted to move to New York City straight out of college, or I wanted to move in Los Angeles. I just wanted to move to a city basically, and I didn't have a lot of money when I first started out. Like, I had $500 in my savings account, and my first job was paying me $33,000 at AT&T, so I definitely couldn't afford a really nice apartment in New York. Now, the downside with moving to New York City in your early 20s is that you are on a entry level salary. Unless you graduated from a big school and you landed a job at Goldman Sachs or some big finance company, you're probably going to be earning less than everyone else, which means that you probably have to share your home with 5 to 6 other people to save on rent. Now, that could be really fun, especially if you're younger. It's more fun to live with more people because you're young and you want to be with a lot of people. But for me, I'm more of an introvert and I like my home to be my sanctuary. So I don't like to come home and be around 5 girls and 5 different personalities. I prefer to live with like 1 or 2 other people, and even with 2 other roommates, it can be really expensive. So you may have to consider living outside of the borough of Manhattan. You would maybe live in Queens or Brooklyn, hopefully not Staten Island, but you definitely have to move to some of those outskirts for the time being, so you might not be in the location that you want. You also won't have a lot of money outside of rent to do things like go to nice restaurants or go to a ton of concerts, because you're going to be spending all your money on rent. Now, the pro with moving to New York City in your early 20s is that I always say it takes time for you to adjust to living in New York, and most people when they move here don't have a lot of friends. I had some friends that I knew from college and growing up, but we hadn't reconnected in a really long time. So for the most part, I was like hanging out by myself with my old roommate and my dog, which was fine with me, but it usually takes a year to adjust living in the city, and then 2 years to really find like your clique or your network of people. So if you move here right out of college, then you get a head start on everyone else in making your group of friends. My best friend Josh actually moved here straight out of college, and he's been here for almost 10 years in New York, and he's had a chance to meet so many more people. And because of that, he has like a network of people in all different types of professions. So if he ever wants to pursue a different career, then he has someone that can intro them, which is great if you're looking to make it or, you know, crush it in a certain career here. It's all about networking. So the far earlier you start here, the better you're going to be. I definitely have FOMO and wish I came here earlier, but I also do love having more money in my bank account when I want to do things like buy furniture or that sort of thing. So let's get into the pros about moving in your late 20s or your 30s. You're definitely going to have more financial security, because by the time you're in your late 20s or early 30s, you're probably in a more senior role than when you first started out in college. So you can afford to live with one person or yourself, and you can afford to do things in New York City that you wouldn't have to just pay all to rent. So there's definitely that security side. The downside with that is that typically when people are older, it's harder to make friends, or people are in relationships and they're already committed to their partner and they're trying to like build a family. So that's also the downside. I feel like because I moved here in my late 20s, everyone was either getting engaged or they're in serious relationships, or they're thinking about having kids and moving out to Brooklyn. And I didn't want to move to Brooklyn. I wanted to stay in New York City in Manhattan. So that's definitely the downside, and it also just takes a while to make friends. So there's definitely a lot of weekends that I don't have a lot of friends, and that I order takeout and watch Netflix and hang out with my dog, which is fine because then I have more time to do things like YouTube. But that's definitely something to consider. So overall, if this was up to me, my honest review is I have no regrets of the way that I moved to New York. I feel like moving to a lower income city like Scottsdale, Arizona, or even Texas and Denver gives you a way to really build up and set yourself up for your 20s. And then you get to move to those fun cities like San Francisco and New York. But if you're in your early 20s right now, which I know a couple of you guys are on this channel, and you're looking to just have fun and not be locked in your home and have a lot of opportunities, then definitely consider moving to New York City. It's all what makes most sense to you. I would prioritize what makes most sense to you, if it's financial security or if it's having opportunities, and then rank them from there. Comment below what you feel like is the most important for you and priority-wise. And I would love to hear if you guys are already in New York City or if you're thinking about moving here. Thank you so much for watching, and if you guys are new to this channel and you haven't subscribed yet, consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell. We post videos every Friday at 1 o'clock Eastern Time. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!